Have you ever played the Super Nintendo classic The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past and thought to yourself, this is good, but I just wish Link audibly yelled all the time? Well, this GBA port is just the thing for you. The Game Boy Advance always had this moniker of being a handheld Super Nintendo. We got versions of all-time classics like Yoshi's Island, Donkey Kong Country, Final Fantasy, with the selling point always being, hey, it's the game you all know and love, but now it's some new additions as well as it's in the palm of your hands. Isn't that cool? Give us money. Sure is nice going back to all these games nowadays with these bright-ass color palettes that were meant to compensate for the non-backlit screen on the original GBA. God, Donkey Kong Country is kind of unsettling now, and that mentality is no different with LOZLTTP. Outside of the constant annoying yelling, which yes, oh my god, it's very annoying. This is still the seminal Legend of Zelda experience. There are some differences with the Super Nintendo version if you want to dive into the finer minutia, but of course, what we're here to talk about today, bundled in with the original adventure is a whole new game, The Legend of Zelda: Four Swords. Now, back in the day, you'd have to get at least 2 Game Boy Advances, each with a copy of A Link to the Past plus 4 swords for the Game Boy Advance family of systems, and the appropriate amount of link cables. Get it all hooked up, pray that none of the cables come loose, and then boom, you're playing some multiplayer Zelda in the mid-2000s. In more recent times, you're better off loading up an emulator of choice to play with people online, like that's super cool that has existed for years actually, but there's an even better option now because you can do the same thing on the Nintendo Switch's NSO Plus expansion pack service. I love that. 4 swords, an amazing mirror, multiplayer, accessible for the first time ever on console? And they want how much for the PS5 Pro? Bro, I love the Switch so much. Deep in this mysterious sanctuary in the Kingdom of Hyrule rests a blade known as the Four Sword that has sealed away the evil wind mage, Vati. Zelda senses that the seal is weakening, and before they can do anything about it, Vati appears and kidnaps her. Link then draws the sword, splitting him into 4 differently colored links, and now they must combine their powers to save Zelda and seal Vati once again. It's like almost the same exact plot as Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. Really don't gotta think much when it comes to coming up with multiplayer stories, I guess. Like, remember the Mario Bros game and the Mario Advance titles that introduced a Blue Mario and Yellow Mario? Dude, who are these guys? And where have they been since? I also like that Kirby has shown up multiple times in this retrospective. Like, I can't help it, man. He's the most influential Nintendo franchise. I don't make the rules. And once again, shout out to Vati, by the way. It is a really nice change of pace to have him as the main villain when he shows up in Minish Cap, but actually, Four Swords is his debut. Fun little fact right there. He's just a purple Link, and his final form is an early Kirby final boss. It's great. So literally, the very first thing you're greeted to when starting this adventure is a level select screen. That's very different, of course. No grand sweeping overworld, no villages with NPCs, no typical dungeon progression. You have 4 areas to choose from, with the grassy sea of trees, the icy Talus Cave, the fiery Death Mountain, and the tutorial zone, the Chambers of Insight. Arguably something that is very crucial to fully understanding some of the game's mechanics, else you stand here struggling for 10 minutes before learning from an online guide that you can clink 2 swords together to spark a fire. What the fuck? And there you go, you just jump in, you just pick whatever you want and you go. And yes, this is the very first instance of the word Talus in a Zelda game. It only took 14 years for Breath of the Wild to let us know what a Talus even is, but here you go. There's a fun fact for you. And once you choose a stage, you are thrown into a series of floors filled with puzzles and items, with your goal to work together with the other links to clear the area out, eventually find a key, and move on. There's nothing here that's new for seasoned Zelda players here mechanically, but what Four Swords lacks in originality, it makes up for with
the real superpower of teamwork!
You got hand carts that need 2 links to operate, some gaps that you have to cross by chucking someone over it, so many blocks that one link is simply too weak and baby to push on his own. Thankfully, you got Morven to come through and pick up the slack, and the bosses require some coordination between the different players in order to hit specific spots that only one specific link can hit. Otherwise, you're just gonna die. You're just gonna have a bad time. But there's also a little odor of competition as well, with the game keeping track of who got the most rupees at the end of the stage, giving you just enough time to call your partners a bad word before syncing back up to continue the adventure. Or, you know, you could just deal with them rage quitting. The only thing in the game that sucks is like you got this a-hole rupee wraith enemy that you can summon and it just ruins your life for a little bit. God, he sucks. He just floats there and takes a bunch of rupees away from you and you can't attack him. You just gotta deal with it. You can push him off into a partner, which just makes it more annoying for everybody. Like, I don't get it. It sucks. It sucks. But yeah, overall, It's a fine enough game, I guess. Nothing really groundbreaking here, it's mostly just kinda neat that you're playing a bare-bones Zelda experience with somebody else. And considering this game predates the Minish Cap, it's also nice to see the origins of this sorta 16-bit Toon Link art style. Hell, there's even a new item in this game, the Nat Hat, that basically just acts like Ezlo in the following game. That's cool. We even got throwbacks to Bow Wow from Link's Awakening and the magnetic glove from Oracle of Seasons, and this time, it doesn't burn your eardrums while using it. Hell yeah. Not hell yeah. Four Swords plays, looks, and sounds great. Until everybody has max health, which then triggers a 2x rupee multiplier that lasts until someone gets hit, and it's accompanied by... I don't know, it sounds like an AI-generated Super Mario Bros. Star theme. I'm so uncomfortable with this. You clear the 3 areas, you unlock Vati's Palace, which is pretty much the predecessor to Minish Cap's Palace of Winds. Loved that dungeon, so this was cool to see. And you battle the multi-form final boss against the quote-unquote fierce Wind Mage, and he's pathetic, man. It's a really good thing they gave this dude a second shot, because this first showing ain't it. Vati is resealed into the Four Sword, Link returns to normal, and then, yeah, now, do it again, I guess. Sure, you may have beaten the game, but you don't truly beat it until you do the whole campaign an additional 2 times. Wow, the Sonic Heroes comparisons really run deep. I mean, I guess it's kind of worth going through this game more than once. Like, levels are actually randomly generated, so there's a strong chance that you won't deal with the same experience more than once. Plus, you go from unlocking silver keys to gold keys, and eventually hero keys by beating the stages multiple times over. Ooh, you don't gotta do that. You do not gotta do that whatsoever. The levels end up being like slightly harder, but it's really not worth the effort. But if you do bring more people along, maybe it is. There are different stages catered to the number of people that you bring along. So really, for a game that takes like less than an hour to beat, you can get multiple hours out of this if you truly care. But for me, once was enough, and I likely won't return to it. The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords is a neat novelty, and it is cool that it is finally accessible on the Switch, but there is just not enough depth there to warrant those additional playthroughs. As expected, Kirby clears in this area. Full completion simply brings you bragging rights. Sweet. Now you can say you did it. Maybe now Reggie will be my friend. But by beating it only once, like a sane person, you can actually hop back into A Link to the Past and take on a brand new side quest, Lumberjack's Riddles, from Q Bumpkin, a brand new NPC. They called him Bumpkin, huh? Definitely had a rough childhood. He gives you a short riddle for some animal or item that he wants. You go and get it, you bring it back to him, rinse and repeat until he's done. One of the riddle answers is Kookman. The one and only Kookman, he's back. Who could ever forget about Kookman? You remember, right? It can display millions of polygons. Yeah, that guy! Doing 10 of the riddles would give Link the Hurricane Spin, a more powerful spin attack where he doesn't shut the hell up. It's great, but more importantly, the reason why you would play this in the first place, there is the Palace of the Four Sword, a brand new LTTP dungeon. Inside are 4 pathways, each filled with tough puzzles, tougher enemies, including the like-likes, which aren't even in the base game, and I love them. Everybody loves those stupid like-likes. The paths end off with harder versions of 4 of the standard bosses, eventually all culminating in a pretty tough battle with 4 Shadow Links. It's definitely a challenge, but before long, the first new dungeon in A Link to the Past in so many years has been completed, and oh. And then the credits roll. Okay, there is a quest log during the credits now, so... Sick, dude. The best takeaway from all this is that Four Sword does succeed at being sort of supplementary to the LTTP port experience, and it's really cool that the Four Sword as an item shows up in Minish Cap, but Four Sword itself, the actual adventure? Nintendo did release an enhanced version of Four Swords for the DSiWare a few years afterwards, but in between then, we're gonna take a bit of a GameCube detour with Four Swords Adventures, what is considered to be the worst selling game in the entire Zelda franchise. Oh my god. About a year and a half later, we got The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Adventures for the GameCube, aka 4 Swords Plus in Japan. Kinda dig that name a little better. Finally, the 4 Swords experience on a console, so now you don't have to worry about bringing multiple Game Boys and link cables to the party to have a good time. Yeah, it's worse now, actually. What's that? You want a 4-player game going on here? Okay, I got you. 1 GameCube, 1 copy of LOZ FSA, 4 Game Boy Advances, each with a GBA to GameCube link cable.
Fuck,
Awesome.
I didn't know that was there.
That's it. That's it. Come on, that ain't
so
that
annoying.
bad. That's so much plastic. So, like basically everyone else, it wasn't until years later where I managed to get a proper 4-player game going as God and Shigeru Zelda intended. The game does finally allow for just a single player to go on the adventure, and if you go about it that way, you can use just a standard controller, which is nice. It kind of pops up a fake GBA screen when needed. That's cute. Don't know why that feature is single player exclusive, but okay. But come on now, you want the full experience here. It's 4 swords after all. Why not go the extra mile? Perhaps you go the route of getting 5 GameCubes, 4 of them were GBA players, you get 5 TVs to hook them up to, along with a GameCube controller for all of them, and then boom. Easy $1,000 plus way to experience 4 Swords Adventures in its peak. I understand why this is the worst selling game now. I am once again advocating for the benefits of emulation here, because once again, Dolphin wins. Popular GameCube emulator Dolphin actually has integration with the popular GBA emulator MGBA, resulting in allowing the players to view both screens at the same time while using any controller they choose, and there's online play, making this the ultimate way to experience FSA nowadays if you can't force 3 of your closest friends and enemies to play in the same room with you. I mean, like, come on now, this is just cool as hell, right? You can even load up Wind Waker and play with the Tingle Tuner with ease. That's so cool that you can do this. And obviously this extends far beyond Zelda. You have easy access to the Sonic Advance Chow Garden shenanigans too while playing Sonic Adventure 2. Hell yeah. For this video, I did get to have the authentic experience by connecting a bunch of GBAs to a single GameCube, but man, using a GBA SP as a console controller for an extended period of time is a bit painful on the wrists. Really, Dolphin is the best way to go. Deep in this mysterious sanctuary in the Kingdom of Hyrule rests a blade known as the Four Sword that has sealed away the evil mage, Vati. Wait, is this deja vu? Increased production values and one long scrolling text box aside, it is a fairly similar premise. Just now, Zelda also calls upon 6 maidens for assistance on top of Link, and we also get a sudden Dark Link appearance who seals away the maidens and Zelda in dark crystals. Oh no! So now Link grabs the Four Swords, splits into 4 copies, Vati shows up, etc, etc. Time to yell expletives at your friends. Ganon even shows up in this one near the end, haha. Turns out they were trying to bring him back this whole time. Oh my goodness, heaven forbid we continue committing to the new guy. He's not even that tough in this game. Only took me like 5 minutes to kill him and you just slash him like crazy. Like he's super easy. Like, man, give Vati the ball. He can do something there, damn it. At its core, Four Swords Adventures is basically the same gameplay loop as GBA Four Swords, but a whole lot bigger. This time you got 8 full areas with 3 levels each, the third being somewhat a more traditional dungeon. You got towns and NPCs that you'll run across occasionally, sometimes with quests that you will tackle right then and there. Sometimes there are so many more enemies on screen at any given time, it's just like nonsensical combat here. Honestly, I'm all for it. Much grander boss battles, they're really fun, introducing a bunch of brand new creatures that toe the line between original and familiar in a way that both works in single player as well as co-op, thanks to how easy it is to now split your squad up at any given time, which you're gonna want to remember that point for a little later on. I got some Triforce opinions for you there. There's so much more variety in the landscapes, like the typical grasslands and mountains, but there's also the Lost Woods, a mysterious desert, and regularly shifting your attention to the GBA screen, allowing some links to see things exclusive to them, while the rest are still up above ground, doing whatever the hell. Who cares? That's them, not you. It is literally just what the Wii U, an entire console, was selling its entire gimmick as, and they didn't revisit it on that system, but thank God Nintendo funded Devil's Third instead. And if you do tackle this game by yourself, well, good news, the game introduces the formation system. You will control all 4 links at the same time, and you can quickly swap between 4 different formations with the flick of a stick, and easily split up and control just one link, while the others are like, okay, fine, not like I wanted to be on this adventure anyway, I'm not even that mad. They look so grumpy just sitting there. And this makes a single player experience relatively enjoyable. However, the thing that really sucks about this is that if you pick up an item, all 4 links in your squad are required to hold that one item, as opposed to 4-player where each player can hold something different, requiring communication to keep things moving smoothly. In single player, for example, if you want the boomerang that you had earlier, but you got the bow and arrow now, you gotta backtrack to where you left the boomerang, you gotta lose the bow and arrow, and hope that you don't need it back for the rest of the stage, otherwise you gotta backtrack some more. Like, God, This game would be so much better if you can just L and R button your way through the different items. This ruins the pace so much for the way that I guess you're not even supposed to play this game in the first place. This goes doubly for the brand new temporary leveled up items. So like you'll find a great fairy, you can throw like a bow at it and then you'll get a level 2 bow back, but you can still place the level 2 bow somewhere else. And if you want to backtrack specifically to the level 2 bow, you got to go to where you specifically left that one. Not every bow in the stage levels up, just that one. Like, oh my god, this is bad design. This doesn't absolutely ruin the single player experience, but it does make the multiplayer experience that much better. All you gotta do is say, hey Jimmy, hey stupid, give me the level 2 bow. That's it. That's all you gotta do. It's way better. We don't like Jimmy in this game anyway. But ultimately, no matter how you play it, FSA is way better than the original FS. I even like that it still looks like a higher fidelity GBA game. Games like this at the time didn't show up super often, so while it's obviously less impressive than a full 3D game, it is definitely one of those stands up to the test of time things, something that Nintendo is all too familiar with after Wind Waker. However, the graphical style and once again the reliance on multiplayer, it was definitely all a gamble that did not work out for the company. Once again, the least selling Zelda game of all time, not even cracking 1 million copies. Dude, okay, imagine this, right? Sonic Gems Collection outsold this game, okay? All I can take from this is that people yearn for Sonic R more than Four Swords Adventures, alright? That's the only logical conclusion I got. Even still, Four Swords Adventures succeeds where the original Four Swords failed. This actually feels more like a Zelda game that you just so happen to be playing with others. Single player, it's not great, and obviously it's gonna lack story depth compared to like Twilight Princess, and if anything else, the game is also very long. Like, it's an unnecessarily long adventure. 8 worlds with 3 levels each, like this goes on for quite a while. There's not enough variety to make it that interesting. This game goes on for a few hours longer than it needs to be. But if you do find the time to play with others, you are in for one of the better co-op experiences Nintendo has ever produced. Adventuring is really fun, puzzle solving with others is pretty satisfying, there's still that light odor of competition with the rupee rankings at the end of the stages, and there's even a handful of mini games that you can play over at the Tingle Tower. You got horse racing, cocoa gathering, all volleying, and there's even an entirely separate fight to the death mode with Shadow Battle. All 4 links can just fight until only one remains. This is what Zelda's been missing this whole time. They really did try as much as they could with this idea, and it's wild that in the 20 plus years since release, it has not been ported or attempted again in this style. Triforce Heroes is really its own thing. There is definitely room for something more along the lines of Four Swords Adventures 2 nowadays. And man, if this truly is the worst selling Zelda game of all time, imagine how many people got to experience the Japanese and Korean exclusive Navi Trackers mode. In this mode, up to 4 links will run around a map hunting for different pirates, sometimes participating in some minigames. It's pretty straightforward, but again, a shocking amount of effort went into this. You got a full 3D Wind Waker styled opening, plenty of original sprite work for the GBA screen that is not in Minish Cap or original Four Swords, and a ton of voice acting for Tetra on the TV screen. I'm assuming there is such a reliance on foreign language and voice acting, that was enough for Nintendo to not localize this mode with the rest. And that's a shame, because like another fun Nintendo fact here, the original inspiration for this mode was the first game Eiji Aonuma directed, Marvelous, for the Super Nintendo, or specifically a Satellaview re-release, BS Marvelous, Time Athletic, which had a real-time narration system that guided you towards stamps, which, yeah, is basically exactly what Navi Trackers would become. The game even originally had Marvelous characters in it. I don't even know who she is, but that's really cool. Dude, this may not mean much in the grand scheme of things, but any reference to some niche Nintendo backlog stuff like that, I love it so much. I have no idea who this woman is, but she was alive for like 5 seconds, and that was a great 5 seconds. Now let's fast forward a few more years. It's 2011 and the 3DS is currently in there. Oh god, we're falling. Oh my god, the 3DS is falling so hard. I can't believe Steel Diver isn't saving us. Phase. It is also the Zelda series 25th anniversary, E3 celebration, orchestrated music, Ocarina of Time is getting a remake on the 3DS, Skyward Sword is happening, giving us the most iconic Miyamoto moment of all time, Link's Awakening is being ported to the Nintendo 3DS Virtual Console, and we got a brand new Four Swords game for DSiWare, available for only a few months, but hey, it was free.
The 4-player cooperative Legend of Zelda Four Swords that we're going to make available to all of you as a free download.
Am I really crazy for thinking that this was going to be a new game? It wasn't until the trailer when it was revealed to be a sort of remaster of the GBA game. That's an odd marketing call, but whatever, it's free. That's like complaining about Jump Rope Challenge. I can only care so much, this bunny is indicative of a darker time. You know what's really weird too with the limited release strategy for this game specifically? It actually got a second release wave. It was first available from late September 2011 to February of 2012, and then after A Link Between Worlds release, it was available once again for free on the eShop for, and I'm not kidding here, 3 days in early 2014. 3 days. What? The Legend of Zelda 4 Swords Anniversary Edition. So yes, this is more or less the same game as the GBA version, but with a few core changes. For one, you can play in single player now. Cool! This mode limits you to 2 links that you can control independently, or have them follow you FSA style. And yeah, it just works. Anything that requires 2 links to function, the other link will suddenly grow a brain and work with you. It's nice. They're gaining sentience. And wow, oh my god, look at that! Each link can hold a different item. God, this fixes things so much. Adventures is really being held back from true greatness with this one change alone, I'm telling you. With the move to the DS, of course, we also have more screen space. That's really nice. There is better quality music and sound effects. That's cool. A functional bottom screen with an always visible radar. This is clearly like the superior version of the game, right? Like unquestionably, but there's more. With no A Link to the Past to stop and swap content with this time around, is there any new benefit to killing Vati at the end of this adventure? Well, there's the Hero's Trial, which is a tough final challenge, as well as the Realm of Memories. Inside are 3 doors, each containing 3 stages, all based on classic Zelda games. You got Hyrule's Castle Exterior, Interior, and the Lost Woods from A Link to the Past, Lower Koholint Island, Tail Cave, and Tal Tal Heights from Link's Awakening, and the Central Overworld, Lost Woods and Graveyard, and Level 1 from the original NES Legend of Zelda. Each stage has a modified art style, we got music ported from the source game, and completing all of these will give you the Master Sword. This is one of the coolest things ever. I didn't think the Zelda franchise was really dialing into the fan service until Hyrule Warriors on the Wii U, but nah. This was happening too, and I totally missed it. I don't know how the knowledge of these stages went by me for well over a decade. How many people have gotten to experience this? This is really cool. It's like the Gramps fight in Link Between Worlds all over again. I somehow missed some of the greatest bits of fan service in Zelda history, and for this, it's locked behind a DSiWare game that you couldn't even access for the majority of time the eShop was still around. Oh wait, I'm sorry, except for those 3 random days in 2014. This company drives me insane sometimes. A lot of times. 4 Swords Adventures is still the best so far, but Anniversary shows that there's a lot of potential with this idea. So now we give it a few more years, wait for a new console to come out with the 3DS, and we give it one more go with The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes. And this is now the 2nd worst selling game in the entire franchise. Oh my god, people don't care. You see, this is another one of those Diddy Kong's Quest versus Diddy's Conquest scenarios here. It's not Triforce, one word, like the triangular object of legend. It is Triforce, 2 words, since the whole point of the game is a trio of links forcing their way through whatever stands in their path. Haha, and it's on the 3DS, Triforce 3DS. Dude! Either single player with 2 dolls that you can swap control with at any time, and they have the most horrifying faces of all time. It's like if a shy guy were robbed of all of its soul. Or with 2 other actual humans. I forced them to play with me. You can go on this brand new handheld adventure. Do you want to bring just 1 other person along, so you got a whole 2-player with 1 doll situation going on? No, sorry, idiot, can't do that. It's either 1 player or 3 players. Those are your only options. You cannot play this game with only 2 people. What? You could have also gone online and gotten 2 strangers to join in with you, but then you're only able to communicate with these emotes? Oh god, that sounds dreadful. All while the Wii U was flatlining and Nintendo fans were anxiously awaiting the releases of Ziplash and Ultra Smash, it is really no surprise that this would go on to become the 2nd worst selling game in the franchise. I just can't get over it. I cannot believe that. That's insane. I mean, I guess it makes sense in the grand scheme of things, but still, that's crazy. This game is actually really good too, but it did not stand a chance. It's the game where Toon Link can wear a dress and they reference LTTP's pink-haired Link. Triforce Heroes deserved better. There's that brief period of time where you were able to get like Yokai Watch and Happy Home Designer for $5, and this was there along with it, man. Like, everyone complains about Nintendo games never getting discounts, right? But no, for a good period of time, Triforce Heroes was $5, and I still don't think people were buying it. Oh my god. All right, now, brace yourself. We actually got an original storyline here, introducing the Kingdom of Hytopia, home to Princess Styla, who was beloved by everybody. Well, except for one person, the evil Drablands witch, Lady Maud, who specifically attacks Styla's fashion sense by gifting her an irremovable ugly gray bodysuit. The horror. Completely humiliated, she locks herself in her bedroom, causing chaos in Hytopia, and for her father, King Tuft. A call has been issued for any available hero to come and save the kingdom, specifically a Triforce hero, haha, being one with pointy ears, epic sideburns, and side-parted hair. Epic sideburns? Really epic? Epic sideburns, huh? Okay. Odd localization right off the bat, okay. It's your outfit, it's a bit, well, isn't it adorbs? Adorbs? Oh god, okay, this fills me with such a unique pain I don't see very often. Link just said adorbs. This man doesn't talk, but he said adorbs. They're totally gonna say like Link's outfit is on fleek, aren't they? I'm gonna, ooh man. Alright, squad goals, I guess. Yeah, if that was painful to hear, I apologize. It was painful to write down too. Of course, now it is up to you to claim the title of the Triforce Hero, overcome all of the Drabland challenges that lay out before you, and look fabulous while doing so. It's a brand new kingdom filled with brand new characters, including Madame Couture's cat. I love them, as well as a relatively brand new style that looks really good. Not only is this game clearly built off of the Link Between Worlds engine from a few years prior, but actually, this is the same Link from that adventure. Like, I guess after saving Lorule, you had nothing else better to do, so you took part in this fashion contest, I guess. Okay, I'm all for it. But like, isn't Link Between Worlds considered Link to the Past 2? So does that make Triforce Heroes technically Link to the Past 3? Oh, once again, the number 3 is there again, oh my god. But okay, if that's too much of a stretch for you, consider this. Triforce Heroes is the only Zelda game on the 3DS that is more or less completely original. This console is filled with a bunch of remasters, ports, we got a sequel, Picross, can't forget about Twilight Princess Picross. It was this game specifically where the creators were able to flex their creative muscle to the fullest. And it is something that Nintendo didn't give us with another top-down Zelda game again until 2024's Echoes of Wisdom. All I'm saying here is, Triforce Heroes represents quite a weird spot in Zelda history. Now, the structure of this adventure remains pretty similar to the 4 Swords games before it. We got 8 areas with 4 levels each. Green Link, Blue Link, and Red Link drop in. Purple Link, bye-bye, see ya stupid, you didn't get the invite. And it is up to you 3 to work together to solve any puzzles and defeat any enemies that stand in your way. You've heard this all already before in this video. But the 2 main differences outside of going from 4 links to 3 is the general smoothness of control. The Link Between Worlds engine putting in excellent work to make a game that, god, this may be the smoothest any Link has ever felt in this entire franchise. It plays so well, and there is a much stronger reliance on working together with your partners at all times. There's a brand new totem mechanic, where you stack up on each other's legs to reach a box of cereal that's on too high of a ledge. Everyone's items have to be used in tandem way more often, like making water pillars tall enough for a bow user to strike a boss. I love that. And instead of just chucking every Link over a ledge, you have to chuck over the correct Link so you can pull the others over with the boomerang, stuff like that. And every Link can also put on a cute little outfit that sometimes alters some of your stats, like the rate of finding hearts during the stages. And hell, this whole costume thing, I love it to death. I love when games give you costumes. However, this does add a bit of unnecessary grinding to the mix. You see, stages will give you materials that you can then bring back to Madame Couture's shop, and there is no way you can afford every new costume on your first attempt. So, if you want, say, Link in a cheerleader outfit, and damn it who doesn't, you're gonna have to work for it. And that's doubly so for single player, since typically a level will give you 3 treasure chests once you complete it, 1 for each Link, but in single player, the other 2 just go away, so you kinda get penalized for doing single player. God. And on top of that, like, dude, every level has 3 additional challenges that you can tackle after the initial completion. That jumps the initial level count of 32 to 128. And the game keeps separate records of your solo runs versus your full co-op runs. So technically, full completion is doing all 128 missions twice. Oh god. And then you got the Den of Trials, a 9th area that features 40 floors and rewards you with the Fierce Deity outfit. Oh my god, that's so awesome. Oh dude, a Linebeck costume. That's so crazy. The fan service is so strong, you almost forget that guy was an absolute tool bag. If you got friends that are willing to commit to this entire quest with you just for some virtual fabric, then you guys are friends for life. Nothing will ever tear that bond. Dude, just imagine the three of you rocking the timeless tunic outfit. Like, oh man, this is so retro. You see, it's cool because when you put it on, the music actually goes 8-bit. Wow, this is crazy, man. Nostalgia overload. But, here's the thing. Here's the reason why I think so many people have told me over the years that this game is just flat out not good. Single player. Oh god, it's not good. It is super easy to swap between the 3 links by tapping them on the touchscreen, sure, but like I said, there is a stronger reliance on collaboration than ever before. So, doing your typical puzzle solving, but also needing quick reflexes to regularly tap the touchscreen and reorient yourself in a second so you don't take damage, it's not fun. It would be different if all the links were on a single screen like in Four Swords Adventures, but no, sometimes camera jumping is involved, and it really sucks on the eyes. You see, I just played through Federation Force for the 3DS nostalgia video, and so much of that time I was like, god, this either sucks and it takes too long when I'm by myself, or this sucks but it sucks with 3 other people now in co-op. Here, thankfully, I guess,
Today's video is an exciting one as we look back in time to November 2016 with one of the most underrated DLCs of all time, with The Division 1's Survival. This DLC in game mode was well ahead of its time, and I thought it worth revisiting as the extraction shooter genre grows in popularity. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe for more, and let's survive. I really enjoyed The Division on release, even with some of the rampant downgrades occurring at the time, and one of the cringiest trailers ever made.
That gun is sick. You better get it out before you lose it.
Okay, I've got my flare ready to go.
Cool. I'll get the door.
You good? Let's go.
It was still an incredibly unique experience, especially in its PvP-focused area, the Dark Zone. Players entering the Dark Zone could fight NPCs, scavenge, loot, and extract while at the same time avoiding or allying with other players. Players who attacked others turned rogue and were marked and became free to engage. It created such an emergent type of gameplay that no other title has really nailed, again, even The Division itself. Those first few weeks of the Dark Zone, when players were still learning the game, were some of the most intense and fun multiplayer experiences I've ever had. And this Dark Zone formula was streamlined with the release of the Survival DLC. Survival drops you and friends, if you go as a group, into an absolute shit show. Surviving from a crash landing, you are wounded, infected, freezing, and gearless, and have to make your way back into the Dark Zone and eventual extraction. It's a really familiar gameplay loop nowadays, but at the time was well ahead of its time, as everything you get you have to scavenge or craft with a ticking clock of infection pushing you onwards. You can engage in PvP and PvE modes, and the game mode in general was just insanely immersive, intense, and just fun. Unfortunately, in my experience, it died pretty quickly as it was one of the later expansions for the game itself, and queuing for the PvP mode just took longer and longer to actually find a match, and my interest sort of just died with it. You look now and see the hype for a scam like the day before, and it just really cements from they just have so many systems in place for this engine. It's just so much potential for a survival style of game. Even now, I think if they released a Division Survival as a standalone game with more fleshed out extraction like mechanics, some deeper systems, some deeper loot, it would be a huge success. For a company that chases trends like crazy, for once I think they were a little bit ahead of the curve here and failed to realize it, in my opinion. It also helps that Survival takes place in one of the most immersive settings ever in a video game. I'm serious, the Division 1's snowy New York is one of my favorite settings ever, and I still think there's so much potential here. And Survival embraced this setting fully, stripping back UI elements to fully immerse players with a subdued soundtrack and extremely obscured visuals. The blizzard that takes place is gorgeous. How the lighting engine plays off the snow drifts and the flakes as they gather on your character as you brush against cars and compacted snow falls, this is really something special that the Division 2 just lacked. A modern urban survival game as you make your way through abandoned apartments and stores, I Am Legend style, is just such a compelling and unique setting that I wish was utilized more. But let me know your thoughts on The Division Survival if you played it. Do you think it was something special, or just another forgettable Ubisoft experience? Now let's see how quickly I can die as I jump in and play a full round of The Division Survival in 2023. And we are in. Whew, I have not played this in a long time, so we're gonna see how this goes. We got an infection, and we're looking. Oh, okay. Here's the little tutorial. You're sick and cold with only basic equipment. You must survive. So first, we got to create a virus filter, gear up, and let's see what we can do. All right, we got some fabric, and we got some painkillers. Those are really useful. And let's see what we can craft. Okay, so we're trying to get the virus filter, but we don't have enough stuff, so we're gonna have to look around a bit. But we can make a pretty dope scarf, so let's make that first, because that's going to protect us from the cold. Oh yeah, we got everything we need now that we have this scarf. And here we go into the storm.
Core temperature is dipped below optimal levels.
Here we go. Look at these visuals. I just love it. Knocking the snow off. Oh, it's just such a gorgeous game. And the blizzard just looks so good even now. I mean, this is, what is it, 6 years old now? This mode and this game, and it just looks so crisp and beautiful. I love the lighting effects of the blizzard, and I just cannot speak enough about the setting of New York for the Division 1. Really, really where they fell short in the Division 2. Although DC had a lot of interesting visual stuff, nothing really matched this hopeless kind of feeling. Let's warm up here at this fire barrel. Oh yeah, getting nice and toasty. Look at the shadows. Wow. Okay, so we're getting cold. Basically, if you're not indoors or at those fire barrels, you're getting freezing due to this blizzard. So let's get in this construction site. Oh, okay. I think it's just him. Pop, 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 pop. Okay, have to get used to the bullet sponginess of the Division 1. That is one area that the Division 2 did a lot better than the Division 1. I know a lot of people have a really hard time wrapping their heads around that. That, you know, that guy in a baseball cap basically took 6 shots to the face to put down. And I agree, especially in this mode. Another one, put him down. Especially in this mode, which is a little more realistic with a, you know, trimmed down UI. Just really kind of does break the immersion. I wish it had a bit more hardcore realistic feeling. So this is the basic gameplay loop, and wow, that is a bright fire playing against the snowflakes. That's just, it's just so cool looking. And look at how low visibility is. Like, look at that. I can't even see, but ooh, there's a tool chest. Gathering these resources, we can craft a few different things. We can craft guns, you can craft clothing, and unlike the standard game, the clothing actually does make a big difference as it makes you warmer. So we need to acquire a jacket, some new pants, some dope new kicks, and I'm going the wrong way. Let's turn around. And at any moment, there can be another player. And now, I did do PvP. I imagine at this point, there's probably only like 3 or 4 other people in this entire map. Just because, you know, it's an old game and it's an old game mode. And even pretty quickly after release, it was really hard to find a full match of people. I think it was up to like 16 or 12 or something. It's pretty high. Oh, got some more here. Just take you out. Take you out. There we go. This does make me want to get back into the Division 2. I really like it. I think it's one of my favorite looter shooters, and I know it has a lot of issues, but still, the gameplay of the Division is excellent. They really have something special here that they just need to do more with. Alright, so we use that medicine that actually stabilizes us. You can see that timer there, and you're infected, and now we're freezing. We gotta get inside. But first, grab our cardigan, and keep moving, because now we're losing health because we're below freezing. So yes, we're basically on a timer with this infection, and you can take different medicines, and you can find them, and that will actually, while we're sitting here, let's put on our cardigan. Let's put on some walking shoes. So while we have an hour, it actually can drag out quite a bit longer. Alright, let's check this parking garage. Oh, he was just chilling. I didn't even... Oh, that was cool. Little spray of blood right there. There's more. He ran into a trap. Oh, oh! Oh, he's an armor dude. This is bad. This is bad. Let's... Oh, how many were in this parking garage? I'm gonna die already. I'm literally gonna die already. Okay. Take you out. There he is. Oh. No, no, no. Not like this. Let's heal up. We can revive with those if we go down, like a self-revive basically, but we only had one. Oh, this is a bad angle. Move back, move back. Oh no! I'm playing so badly. Alright, push him back with a nade and let's... Maybe he had a health kit for us. Oh, he did. Okay. Got the kit. This is such a bad angle. Oh, I'm in a terrible spot. We gotta move. Yikes. One more nade. He's like reading my throws. Oh, this is bad. Let's try to get across. Cross. Oh, this is death. And a bit.
Due to exsanguination.
Yeah.
Especially in light of what went down between us last week. We both feel that when it comes to the new day going forward, we all want to go big. Looks like I keep my shit. Charles. Once. Charles. Judgment. Charles. Biggest ball in the whole world.
Just so you know, my husband is average balls. Worse. Charles. Huge balls. Biggest balls in the whole world. Just so you know. Just so you know.
Oh, my bad, guys. My bad.
Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and I am super excited to be sitting down to talk about a very old school BioWare style game in Exodus. So for those who missed our first video on Exodus, I highlighted this is where the old school BioWare that many of you adore went to. So you have talent like James Olin, who is the lead designer on the likes of KOTOR and Dragon Age Origins, heading up this project. You have Drew Karpyshyn, who wrote the likes of KOTOR, which I think is like the best gaming story ever, Jade Empire, which is incredible, as well as the entirety of Mass Effect. He is writing this game. He is the lead writer. So there's a lot of old BioWare talent backing this game. That does not guarantee it'll be great, as I highlighted in that video, but it certainly makes for an exciting formula when you look at also the game itself, which is very much Interstellar meets Mass Effect and has a baby. It looks awesome. And after a lot of talk from the developers, they've done a lot of Q&As. We covered those as well. We finally get to lay eyes on brand new gameplay. You see, this was first revealed at the Game Awards last year, and it was the briefest snippet after a big cinematic trailer of maybe 20, 30 seconds of gameplay. And honestly, not all of it looked fantastic, where I thought we might be shaping up for a potential, if you will, Callisto Protocol kind of experience of, hey, that reminds me of the thing I like, just not as great as that original thing. But right now, what we're looking at is pre-alpha gameplay, and for pre-alpha, this is looking sharp in my opinion. There's a lot to be excited about. I just want to share some thoughts on this trailer and on the future of this game, when it might be coming out, as we continue to cover Exodus. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into what's going on with BioWare or BioWare-like games, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. So like I mentioned, pre-alpha gameplay.
I mean, I could have looked up in the right corner and saw that. Nobody warned me though.
Last year's gameplay was also considered
not even a little warning.
So compared to that, it's been shined up quite a bit. A lot of the community was a little annoyed that they finally showed out with a ton of gameplay and there was no date, no window. Here's why I love that. We have faced a lot of disappointment in 2024 as far as I'm concerned when it comes to ambitious AAA projects. And whether this is a 2025 or 2026 game, I don't know and I don't care. This is a brand new team, despite the talent that's there, that has been assembled to take on a pretty big task, which is creating a massive new AAA sci-fi IP that goes beyond just video games. I highlighted how there's already a book tied into the Exodus world. If you go to their website and you scroll through the dozens of lore
somebody picked up my stuff, didn't
this is already, before the game is even launched, a completely rich universe full of lore and eventually products for you to dive into.
Who has my stuff?
The goals for this game are lofty, and because of that, they should take every bit of time they can, because it reminds me a little bit of those pre-Destiny days where you were really sizing up, 10 years long and all this expanded media content planned for it. And in a way, you know, given that Bungie is in an awful position now, but before all that, it looked like it paid off, right? That whole long-term investment has made Destiny a long-term, enduring franchise, despite live service being a bit of a roller coaster like this. So I'm cool with them tucking the date away and saving it for a time that they feel comfortable they can deliver it. And for now, I'm happy to lay eyes on this game.
Didn't I grab it before
more
I died?
Extensive gameplay.
Which one of you has my stuff, man? I'm tired of this.
They mention a lot in all of their little Q&As is, yeah, it's fun to play. Wish we could tell you more. Sorry. But now they finally get to back it up a little bit. We get a little bit of a look at the characters, but more than anything, we get a look at that Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2 animation style. Some people were a little let down by facial animations. I think for pre-alpha, it looks solid, but here is the honest truth, but in like hardcore RPGs that are supposed to be super reactive, it's not something that's gonna make or break my experience. Do I want something like Andromeda? No. Do I expect something like the level of Baldur's Gate 3, which had so many unique animations per conversation that it made my head spin? Of course that is ideal, but it doesn't make or break those experiences, because speaking of old school BioWare, I was raised on the likes of KOTOR, where they cycle the same 3-4 conversation animations where they're pumping their fists outwards and then going like this, or they're kind of gesturing out and then glazing their hand left to right. Like, I've seen these animations over and over, and to me, it's just about what they're saying. So I don't really overanalyze that stuff. When I saw the little jog run around these planets was very Mass Effect-like. That is obviously the audience they're gunning for. The Mass Effect 4 you never got. The Mass Effect, the BioWare-style game that you never got. This seems to be what they're aiming for. But I love the way they're evolving what I would expect out of a little bit of a BioWare experience. For example, There was stealth gameplay, crouching around, taking out enemies from behind. Did not expect that to be in this game, so some level of freedom of approach is here. But the main selling point is the action-packed third-person combat that looks ridiculous. We saw a grapple gun where the main character would like shoot up and go on top of a pillar, and he was trying to hide from one of the awakened bears, which we'll get into what the awakened are in just a moment here if you don't know what they are, but trying to hide up there from them, and this dude takes down the entire tower, and then he falls on the bear and literally stabs him in the head for almost like a finishing move. I just thought that was awesome, and more importantly, what I think sells action combat nowadays is dynamic. Like, that sort of sequence alone, if that's truly how the final game ends up, where you can do things like that and things can happen like that, that is the story you tell beyond the actual storytelling, right? Like, there are choices, and we'll debate those all day long, but the gameplay itself, right? The gameplay itself and how you can actually have that moment where the environment around you is crumbling and you just have a moment-to-moment thought that takes you to victory. That's the water cooler moment, and I'm excited about that sort of stuff too. To have a grapple gun in just environmental traversal as well as in combat is great. It does look like it's going to be used in a contextual way. It wasn't like he was latching it on to anything in the environment. It looks like in specific moments you'll be using that. So I wouldn't expect a level of like insane freedom, but it is a different level of movement than what we're accustomed to in Mass Effect. Because what I think of when I go movement, Mass Effect, I think of my favorite class in Mass Effect in the Vanguard, where you just press the Y button and you dive that sucker, and then you ground pound, especially in Mass Effect 3. Good God, I think the Vanguard class feels amazing. So to see a level of mobility here was really cool on top of stealth gameplay. There were also melee attacks with some sort of mechanical, electrical, energetic object coming out of your hand. Reminded me a lot of the Omni tool that was in Mass Effect 3, where you could like pull people over cover and impale them. I thought that was awesome. So again, I'm seeing a lot of Mass Effect, and that excites me because as time has gone on and as RPG after RPG has let me down, or fantasy RPGs have become the go-to, I've been hungering for that sort of sci-fi RPG that satiates me, because I really haven't had that in a while, and I'm hoping that this one will be it. And again, because they're holding the date, I'm hoping that is a sign that they recognize the task in front of them, that there are a lot of people who are hoping BioWare would deliver something really special, but really have yet to.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to leave. This game is glitched.
Especially when, I don't mean to dog on them, but when I look at the casting and I look at the people they are hiring for the Mass Effect TV show that's reportedly underway, I worry a little bit about what Mass Effect is to BioWare. But I don't want to sell this game as a home run before it actually hits, because again, I used this reference earlier. Callisto Protocol is a really good point of reflection for all of us. I remember, oh my God, they nailed the marketing for that game. Every bit of the Callisto Protocol was just hitting its stride with every showing. The brutal kills, the UI built onto your body, everything said Dead Space. And Dead Space for me is my favorite ever survival
Don't matter.
horror game.
I had to leave
So this
anyway.
was an
Game's
easy
glitched.
sell. But then what I got at the end of the day was like a heavily linear, melee-focused, survival-ish horror kind of game. And it didn't really pan out as well as I had liked. Is it an awful game? No, but it paled in comparison to the original. And with these developers going off and making their own studios, and especially in the case of Mass Effect, where like Humanoid Origin, which was Casey Hudson's team, just shut down after 3 years. Mac Walters went to go work on his own game, and he was one of the leads on Mass Effect. His studio lost funding. So really it's up to James Olin and Drew Karpyshyn to deliver on the BioWare prophecy. Otherwise, all these ex-BioWare devs just had funding pulled or lost their studios and haven't delivered anything. So again, the pressure is really on, and I'm really pulling for them. But there were also some other cool things. I talked about the bear earlier, the Awakened. For those who don't know, long story short, basically science and technology have moved so far in this universe that animals can talk and they can interact, and they're their own factions. And I mean, you saw the bear was armored up. And so there's a point in this trailer, a frog is just floating around thanking you, talking to you. I'm like, this game is going to have some ridiculous moments. You know how like in Divinity Original Sin 2, I forgot what the name of the tag is. I think it was like a perk or something called like Animal Whisperer or something like that. But anyway, you could go and talk to random animal NPCs that otherwise you would ignore, and they just go moo, and that would be it. You could have full conversation with them, even get quests from them, and that was like really awesome. And so to see like frogs talking here and whatnot, to see bears talking and interacting with you, I'm curious what quests are born out of that, because I feel like this game could have a ton of ridiculous moments. So that's why you're fighting like really normal looking animals in this otherwise very futuristic universe, which again I mentioned is kind of like Interstellar, but an RPG. And that Interstellar messes a lot with time dilation, and I feel like we get a hint of that in this trailer because while there were mild differences between the two characters, there's a character who's older by the end of the trailer that has salt and pepper, longer hair, and he seems like an older version of the character he's standing toe-to-toe with. At least that's the message I got from it, where I wonder if you're going to have that sort of face yourself moment from another time period, and that could be an interesting antagonist, like you trying to stop you. But speaking of characters, I think I heard Garrus's voice actor in this trailer. Some people in the comments, I didn't really hear it, thought they heard Jacob's voice actor. And so hearing that again, I feel like they just understand what they're doing. It's like the old gang is getting back together. Things are lining up. And so, as I've said many times, really pulling for this game. I hope it's excellent. As for predictions, like when do I think this is coming out? I feel like if you're in pre-alpha now, you can, once that's done, pre-production's kind of over.
I turned it off and then double tapped
pretty
it
quickly, but I feel like mid 2026 sounds right for this game in the terms of taking your time, getting it right, but also what they're shooting for and how much polish that may require. One of the big selling points with Interstellar as an RPG is they said you're going to get this celestial tech, you'll bring it back to pretty much like a home world, and you'll choose what to do with said technology. And so like when you go out on your next Exodus and you come back, thousands of years have passed, and so you'll arrive to a completely transformed society based on what you have brought back. And I feel like that is a amazing idea for a choice and consequence centric game. But at the same time, we do have to consider that is ambitious to visually represent. Who knows what quests are born from that, weapons, armor. I mean, the options are endless, which is what makes it really awesome. So again, for them to take their time, I feel like they're going to need to test this one out a lot so that, you know, I don't mind a little BioWare jank in like the animations, whether it be running or talking. I can live with that. But when it comes to like bugs, breaking quests and that sort of stuff, then we have a wee bit of a problem. But otherwise, based on this trailer here, I think the game looks excellent. Again, you should check out the Exodus website if you're looking to dig into the lore. They already have the book out, which is kind of like a separate story within this universe, so you can get familiar in a lot of ways if you're really hyped for this game. I'm a little bit nervous in that, like, do I give myself completely over? Do I really risk it all and like read this 900-page book? And I've read all of the lore things and watched all the QAs, but do I take that next step forward? This lights your fire, so fire away down below. Other than that, I'll catch all of you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace. talk about a very old school BioWare style game in Exodus. So for those who missed our first video on Exodus, I highlighted this is where the old school BioWare that many of you adore went to. So you have talent like James Olin, who is the lead designer on the likes of KOTOR and Dragon Age Origins, heading up this project. You have Drew Karpyshyn, who wrote the likes of KOTOR, which I think is like the best gaming story ever, Jade Empire, which is incredible, as well as the entirety of Mass Effect. He is writing this game. He is the lead writer. So there's a lot of old BioWare talent backing this game. That does not guarantee it'll be great, as I highlighted in that video, but it certainly makes for an exciting formula when you look at also the game itself, which is very much Interstellar meets Mass Effect and has a baby. It looks awesome. And after a lot of talk from the developers, they've done a lot of Q&As. We covered those as well. We finally get to lay eyes on brand new gameplay. You see, this was first revealed at the Game Awards last year, and it was the briefest snippet after a big cinematic trailer.
Pops up fine there.
Maybe 20, 30 seconds of gameplay. And honestly, not all of it looked fantastic, where I thought we might be shaping up for a potential, if you will, Callisto Protocol kind of experience of, hey, that reminds me of the thing I like, just not as great as that original thing. But right now, what we're looking at is pre-alpha gameplay, and for pre-alpha, this is looking sharp in my opinion.
There should be more technology built in the
I just
capture
want to
card.
share
Like,
some
it should also
thoughts
be a switcher
on
or a
this trailer
splitter or
and on
stuff
the
like
future
that.
of this game,
You know
when
what?
it might
Yeah,
be coming
there
out
should be
as
a
we continue
Matrix.
to cover Exodus. But ladies and
They
gentlemen,
should build one,
if you're new
make
here,
it really
into
expensive.
what's going on with
'cause
BioWare
only
or
people like me are gonna buy
BioWare-like
it.
games, you're in the right place. Consider
put it all in one.
subscribing. So like I mentioned,
Put
pre-alpha
audio
gameplay,
extraction,
pretty
all
early
that
phase of
shit, so I can
development,
just do.
all things considered. But here's
It's
the catch, is
ridiculous.
that
I paid
last
$200
year's
for this
gameplay
thing.
was also considered pre-alpha.
One,
So compared
nothing's
to
showing
that,
up right
it's
now.
been shined
This is
up
crazy.
quite a bit. A lot of the community was
not?
a little annoyed that they finally showed out with a ton of gameplay and there was no date, no window. Here's why I love that. We have faced a lot
Did I
of
unplug something?
disappointment
No,
in
there's
2024 as far as I'm
PlayStation.
concerned when it comes to ambitious
Where's my
AAA
Xbox?
projects. And whether this is a 2025 or 2026 game, I don't know and I don't care. This is a brand new
I know
team,
it works
despite
for
the
the
talent
just-
that's there, that has been assembled to take on a pretty big task, which is creating a massive into the Exodus world. If you go to their website and you scroll through the dozens of lore articles they have, this is all ready before
But it's like, I don't have time for
you
this.
to dive into.
What is the
So
issue?
the goals for this game
What
are
is your
lofty,
problem?
and because of that, they should take every bit of time they can, because it reminds me a little bit of those pre-Destiny days where you were really sizing up, 10 years long and all this expanded media content planned for. Mass Effect 1, Mass Effect 2, animation style. Some people were a little let down by facial animation, but here is the honest truth that I've said multiple times before. When it comes to facial animations, I will always be critical of them, but in like hardcore
be the core
RPGs
either.
that are
That's
supposed
I'm
to be
pretty sure it's
super
the core I've been
reactive,
using.
it's not
So
something
what is
that's
the
going to
issue?
make or break my experience. Do I want something like Andromeda? No. Do I expect something like the level of Baldur's Gate 3, which had so many unique animations per conversation that it made my head spin? Of course, that is ideal, but it doesn't make or break those experiences, because speaking of old school BioWare, I was raised on the likes of KOTOR, where they cycle the same 3-4 conversation animations where they're pumping their fists outwards and then going like,
This is a display game. So what is going on, man? What is wrong with that? Well, they wouldn't work. So weird. Finally. But no, I don't hear nothing from that. Spit that plugged in the wrong cord. What's this? Let's see the other cord. What's that? Wait, so see the other cord. I have too many cords here. This is driving me nuts. Should be where it should be. No. Okay. So fun. Where am I looking? This. Got it. Got it. Back in business. Boom.
I've seen these animations over and over, and to me, it's just about what they're saying. So I don't really overanalyze.
Wait, hold on.
So there.
That stuff.
that
When I
first
saw
video
the little
there?
jog run around these planets was very Mass Effect like. That is obviously the audience they're gunning for. The Mass Effect 4 you never got. The Mass Effect, the Bio.
Huh, what is this?
Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and we're sitting down to talk about what was one of 2024's biggest surprises when it came to a confirmation, and that is The Outer Worlds 2, which is dropping
I don't even know why I'm
seemingly at the
installing
end
this, 'cause I'm
of
probably not gonna play this.
2025. But it could be
I'll
sooner
have my fun with
than
you.
that.
You can go,
there was a
though.
video I made in 2021 saying that Avowed and The Outer Worlds
I
2
tried it.
would
I'm
be
just not.
sooner than people actually realize. Now, this isn't me starting off with a victory lap. That's annoying. We're not doing that. But what I'm saying is that I actually, as I thought about it, was less surprised because I realized
You can
back
go too.
then I
But you're-
pointed to how the work on The Outer Worlds 2
You're not
began as
installed. Your
early as
game's not installed.
September
What's going on, Cloud?
2019. Obsidian is very different from other developers under Microsoft Stable, where when they were purchased and got that extra capital,
I didn't even
they
wanna
put their
play.
backs
I just
into
wanted to make
multiple
sure I'm
projects,
downloading.
splitting up their multi-100-person team into a Grounded team, an Avowed team, a Pentiment team, an Outer Worlds 2 team, and who knows what else is next. We'll talk about that at the end of this video, because it could be very exciting if you catch my drift. However, though, Obsidian did that versus what a lot of other developers underneath the Microsoft banner did, which is take all of that capital and put it into one big project. But because of this, I always had a lingering hope that The Outer Worlds 2 would arrive sooner. But given that this production started right before the pandemic and then the development
Try
landscape
installing it
changed for a
again,
while, I wouldn't fault you for thinking that, yeah, The Outer Worlds 2 is probably years after Avowed. But Obsidian has the opportunity to pull off an amazing double feature that we haven't seen since Insomniac Games showed up with a new Ratchet & Clank game, and then months later with a new Spider-Man game. They're operating on a whole other level, and I can't wait for The Outer Worlds 2. That's why I want to sit down and talk about a lot of the brand new information we got on this game, but also the fact that, quite frankly, many people are penning The Outer Worlds 2 as this end of 2025 title, and I'm sure that Obsidian certainly wants to spread it out a little bit, but this could be a summer 2025 title. I mean, these projects are working in parallel, so we'll see. But let's starters, just some brief thoughts on the trailer itself. Quick things I didn't get to throw out my initial reaction during the Game Awards 2024 because we were flying through like 30, 40 other games that were revealed at that time. But what I'm thinking we might have here, and the conversation's picking up over on Reddit, is a third-person mode. We know that's already in Avowed, but there were a lot of third-person animations, third-person point of views that were shown off, and the trailer was styled similarly to what we saw with Avowed when they did confirm that there would be a third-person mode. This was actually one of the biggest points of criticism for The Outer Worlds 1, which is that you had all this cool armor, you had this beautiful world space, it was very Bethesda Game Studios-like, but there was no third-person mode. Avowed now has that, as I covered in my preview of the game, but the problem is it's not hotkeyed, at least in that
Also,
preview
let me
build,
make
it
sure
was not
some of the stuff
hotkeyed.
is on.
So when you wanted to go third person, you had to pause the game and go into the settings options, and I just thought that was silly. Other new things we saw, crazy science weapons like up the wazoo, so many different types of weapons. We saw some sort of stealth system, we saw some sort of new vision mode, throwables were there. We saw hand-to-hand combat a little bit. Like, there was all these different expansions on combat, which I think is really good to see, because I noticed a lot of the conversation around the Outer Worlds 1 when I was reading the feedback about 2. A lot of people were really getting into the idea of like the first game being disappointing, but many of them also I saw were admitting, I didn't try the DLC, which I think moved the gameplay forward in considerable ways, especially Murder on Eridanos, introducing new enemy types and really making combat a little bit more difficult, plus new quest types and locations that really diversified what the Outer Worlds offered, where one thing Obsidian mentions here quite a bit in this Xbox Wire post we're going to get into is that you should revisit, you should replay, you should check out the Outer Worlds 1. Like a lot of
fast storage on there.
Obviously, this could just be marketing.
On both, I have
look at it, but my brain goes to that they're going to continue this adventure from the Outer Worlds 1 into 2 in a more meaningful way than seemingly is being suggested. I say all of that because as you start to read through this Xbox Wire post, it seems very separate from what the Outer Worlds 1 did in the terms of setting and who may even be within this part of the universe. They write, in true Obsidian fashion, you'll carve your path through Arcadia, a colony teeming with factions, intrigue, and chaos. It's also a home of skip drive technology, and where the fate of the entire colony and the galaxy rests. As a daring, undeniably good-looking, and questionably competent Earth Directorate agent, you're tasked with uncovering the source of devastating rifts threatening the entire galaxy. And talk about stakes, the choice of how you deal with these rifts is up to you. Your world's your way, as we say at Obsidian. Now, are the rifts the only thing threatening Arcadia? Of course not. That would be too easy. A factional war between the benevolent rulers known as the Protectorate, a rebellious scientific religious order, and a corporate megapower has the colony torn apart. Each is trying to close or control the rifts for their own good / monetarily profitable needs. Church, state, and capitalism. Who will win? Well, that's really up to you. This is your game. We've said the choices were yours through the whole time. See, that's the Obsidian motto. Yeah, you get it. So this is actually interesting because if y'all are like me and you have the lack of a privilege to play the Shattered Space expansion, this sounds just like that. Like space drive technology, a religious faction in the middle of it who's also scientifically driven. Like, this really does sound exactly like what was happening over with that Shattered Space DLC. And I say that and laugh, not as a dunk on Bethesda, but when the Outer Worlds 1 came around, Bethesda was doing this Fallout First program, and it was awful, and it felt like they were totally detached from what made Bethesda Game Studio special. And here comes the Outer Worlds 1 as literally the perfect game at the perfect time, answering exactly what people wanted. And it did really well because of that, and also the many great things it did individually that people were just attracted to. And now you see Bethesda misses hard on a DLC, and here comes a game with very similar ideas that could very well execute them better than Bethesda, which just seems to be what Obsidian's done. In this case, you can't say it's intentional. Like, these are just in too close proximity to one another. So it's just insane to see how it's playing out once again. That Zeitgeist alone, setting, very different. We're talking about Arcadia, a new colony, and this is so new that there is no information on this place. None whatsoever. Like, nothing in game, no mentioning of it, no wiki pages mentioning it, no community member knows what it is.
I actually want to mess around with that before it leaves.
This opens up a whole new potential of just no returning characters, all new everything, and I just wonder what that direction is. The main thing that they do mention here is about the board still kind of being dissolved, so there is some sort of continuation, but the way I think about it a little bit is how Octopath Traveler 1 and 2 work off each other, where they're within the same world, but they're at completely different points where you can see the continuity, but it's a good starting point for the second one as much as it is the first one, so you can really get into the game series anyway. And maybe that was the vision of the Outer Worlds too. A little bit like Fallout, where, again, this is a series that was clearly inspired by those
3D
types of games, where, hey, you can jump into Fallout
Fat Princess
2,
type of,
3,
or
4, Vegas, hell, even 76, the first one. You can jump in wherever you want to start your adventure and just see what this series has to offer over time, if that's what you'd like to do. So it seems like it's a sequel in that sense, based on what little information we have right now. That's at least my assumption. They also mentioned here and really emphasize the point that it's an RPG. They say when it comes to crafting your commander, it is a full-on RPG with RPG elements. Time from ability points to skill checks and conversations to even how flawed you want to be, because let's admit, no one is perfect. How you build your commander and chart your way through the narrative is uniquely yours.
Because I wanted that
plunge into this player-driven story, whether you're a disciple of diplomacy and smart strategist, a crusader of chaos, or defiantly different. The choice, you guessed it, is yours.
I don't have any kids.
Oh, with this being the Outer
grandnieces and
Worlds,
nephews.
yes,
That's
it
crazy.
can be
5.
done. I noticed a lot of people glancing over this, but I think it's really important to highlight RPG with RPG elements, and also highlight that you can be dumb. The dumb ending in the Outer Worlds 1 is still one of the funniest ones I've seen. You can literally fly into the sun. It's a thing of beauty. So I love that they're bringing back being stupid in this game. Low intelligence playthroughs in the old Fallout games were great. I love that there are modern games still hanging on to that sort of stuff. But what we
This is
see here
just
is an RPG with
3D
RPG elements. And I talk about this
Streets of
because
Rage.
a lot of games use RPG elements but are not an RPG. And in turn, I've said this for about 7-8 years now, that the
What is
term
this?
of RPG, like, oh, you're an RPG, it gets watered down. It means less and less because it's the genre that so many developers
I wish they
borrow
could get
from.
it down
Every
where
game has a
that-
skill tree. Every game
that
has a
bothers me,
perk system.
how long
These
it
used
takes to
be
get to
exclusively RPG elements, but
good
now
quality.
genres are, as I talked about many times
I have
as well,
good enough internet.
turning
It
into
should be
blenders,
clear
taking ideas
the
from
moment I
others
start
and
playing the
putting them
video.
into their own. So it's important to highlight that this is still an RPG with skill checks, choice and consequence, that sort of thing, which Obsidian is really well known for, and that has me excited. Interestingly, they also mentioned here, on top of that, the universe is expanding beyond the game. The Outer Worlds 2 will be featured in the upcoming Secret Level Anthology series streaming on Prime Video. Tune in on December
This would only work
17th
for
for a
me
short
if you get
story
out
that
and
takes
shoot.
place between the Outer Worlds and the Outer Worlds 2. While you may have thought that was a lot of shilling,
I'm happy for
the
people
Secret
that-
Level episode is legitimately good, and if the board were around again, see,
You know
referencing
what?
past
People
tense, they
don't know
tell
what they're
you
talking about
it
when they
was
say this isn't the
mandatory
best.
viewing.
Like,
I feel like this is
this is
going
the
to end
best
up
time
being,
for
I don't want to oversell it, but more important
cameos
than
on
we actually
Game
give it
Pass?
credit for, because again, we have very
It's
little
weird.
knowledge on Arcadia,
I'm
and this
confused
Secret Level
because
thing
I
is
have the
coming
Game Pass
around,
tab.
and
Why?
it feels like it might be our first bit of information
I
on what's
own Rare
happening, at
Replay.
least
Why are you showing me
between
Rare Replay
these two
games?
games. What's the setup? Is there going to be some sort of continuation?
I don't
And normally
feel like
I'd be like,
they're-
whatever. But Shadow Labyrinth, which got announced at the
Oh,
Game
part of,
Awards, was a continuation of what was shown off
Game Pass,
during
I
Secret
guess.
Level. So this makes me want to check it out as well. I mean, these are quick 10, 15 minute, whatever episodes. So why not, right? Either way. But I do wonder just how far they're going to carry things here with the Outer Worlds and kind of bridge these stories together, if anything at all. I think the biggest shame, if they're completely separate, is we miss out on Parvati. I would love to see Parvati swing around just one more time, but you know what? That's what
I'm
makes her
gonna
character
add
special.
this
Maybe
to
it's just
play
that
later.
we get her in the Outer Worlds 1. She's special to that game. Okay, so that's really a lot of what we know about the Outer Worlds 2, which is bare minimum. Let's keep it real. But a lot of these weapons in this game, like I said, look cool. I like that they're mechanically evolving things a little bit more like you'd expect in a first-person shooter. The worlds look stunning, look beautiful, look far more expansive. And the vibe I got from the Outer Worlds community was they want more. The Outer Worlds 1 felt kind of content light to them. They wanted to spend more time in it. And I was surprised to read that, quite frankly. One of my favorite things about the Outer Worlds 1 was it was very replayable, lots of
That's the
different
last one.
styles, lots of
I'll
different
let
choices you
you
can
do
make.
all that
And it was
in
kind
the
of quick. It was
background.
like a 30-hour
Now go
RPG
back to,
for just the base game. With the
what I was
DLC
doing.
thrown in, it was much bigger than that. But when you were looking at it on its own vanilla Outer Worlds, like it was a very palatable RPG, which I feel we need more of. But it seems like, based on at least what they said in the trailer, at least double the size, is that the Outer Worlds 2, I mean, we could even see in the trailer, is going to be huge. This is going to be a way bigger game than the first one. And I think that is the expectation, where Avowed was going to
Why
be
not
more of the
switch it
KOTOR style
over
design,
somehow?
where we saw with like Halcyon, for
Gotta straighten
example,
that out.
in the Outer Worlds 1, that really opened things up big time. So now the Outer Worlds 2 is rolling around. Are they going to continue that more open planet hub structure? That is my expectation. But I also want to talk about Obsidian's future. No doubt, this point will come up in many a Maddie video, so congrats. You're hearing it here first for the first time. All right.
Dual audio buds. Is that what I? Is that what you heard me say? Okay. No, that's not. Simultaneous audio buds. I didn't even need to do that. I'm trying this one more time. Simultaneous audio earbuds. How did you? You didn't hear the first part. That's amazing. Let's try this again. Simultaneous audio earbuds. No, this is not what I'm talking about at all. No. How was this not a thing? I got these. Bluetooth 2.5 gigahertz earbuds.
Because of their convenience, don't have any cords, and also usually you can find some that are pretty affordable. But when it comes to gaming, things get a little bit more challenging because they need to be comfortable for long periods of time, have a decent battery life for longer gaming sessions, and sound good with low latency as well. And so for those reasons, I've only found a few true wireless gaming earbuds that I actually enjoy using, Sony InZone Buds being one of those, but I've had some issues with some other ones. So today we're going to be talking about the Asus ROG Cetra Speed Nova earbuds and kind of just my thoughts in general on wireless gaming earbuds. So let's dive in and check out what's good about wireless gaming earbuds and what makes me more often than not end up putting them back in the box. Hey everybody, I'm Jordan with 9 to 5 Toys. We are checking out the Asus ROG Cetra Speed Nova wireless gaming earbuds. Now there are two different versions of these available. One is $100 and it's just Bluetooth, so great for mobile gaming. But the Speed Nova version that we have here is coming in at $200. It looks basically the same, but the Speed Novas that we have here have Bluetooth and also come with a little 2.4 gigahertz transmitter, so you can use this for low latency gaming as well. So of course, you know, the benefits here are that it is a very small product. You don't have to worry about something large sitting over your ear when you actually have these installed, and so they look good and can sometimes be comfortable as well. And if you're looking for something that you can take with you on the go, usually wireless earbuds like this are something that are pretty popular. But of course, there are lots of factors that go into wireless gaming earbuds that make them usable or not. So first off, let's start with the design. Like all true wireless earbuds, it does come with a charging case. Now, I can't say that I'm a huge fan of this charging case though, because on the sides, the top shell comes down pretty far. So if you're holding the case on the sides, you can't open it because you are holding part of that top lid. So you have to hold it in a little bit more of a specific way with a hand in the front or a finger in the front and the back, which lets you open it. So obviously, it's something you'd get used to over time, but it was pretty frustrating when I first got these earbuds. And then, of course, upon first opening the earbuds, you can see that they are gaming wireless earbuds because there is RGB, both in the case and on the earbuds themselves. Additionally, the case does have a USB-C port on the back for charging, but it can also accept wireless charging as well. So find a cheap pad and you can just place it on there to wirelessly charge the case. The earbuds themselves have a pretty standard wireless earbud design. It's kind of like the AirPod kind of style, where it's got the little stem that comes down that houses the charging contacts, also has a microphone. And there is a little ROG logo on that stem, as well as the RGB logo on here, which can be turned off if you want to turn that off through the Armory Crate app on a PC. But otherwise, there's nothing here that really stands out as anything new. And there is a touch capacitive button that is hidden underneath that RGB logo as well. And these are also available in black or white, depending on what color you want to go with. One thing that, of course, you know, I have the Sony InZone Buds, and so I'm comparing these to those quite a bit. And one thing that's a little bit of a bummer on this, there's no place to store the wireless transmitter in here, which is a nice feature on the InZone Buds. There's a really nice place to just slot it in there, so you don't ever have to worry about losing that or finding a different place to carry it with you if you are transporting it. Unfortunately, that is not the case with this case. But moving on, let's talk about one of what I think is the most important factors when it comes to wireless gaming earbuds, and that is comfort. Headsets that rest over top of your ears are one thing, but something actually sitting inside your ear needs to be a little bit more specific in my experience to actually be comfortable for longer gaming sessions. And unlike some other true wireless gaming earbuds that I've tried, these are actually quite comfortable. And so that alone puts them ahead of some of the competition, like the HyperX Cloud Mix buds that we reviewed. You can check that out up here in the corner if you want to learn a little bit more about those. I do still find the Sony InZone buds to be more comfortable. They sit in my ear a little bit nicer. I don't feel like I have to push them in as far to get a comfortable seat. These I feel like I need to kind of push in a little bit, similar to the HyperX earbuds, but not quite as bad. But once again, you know, comfort, like that's going to be pretty subjective depending on your ears and what you look for in a earbud. So that is my experience with these, but your mileage may vary on that. And now let's move on to sound quality. Out of the box, these do have a little bit more of a darker sound. Something I would say is more like a classic gaming headset sound to it. You know, you think of like a Turtle Beach headset or like a, you know, an older, more inexpensive Turtle Beach headset that kind of had, you know, dull highs and kind of elevated lows. That's a little bit of what you get right out of the box in this, which can be fun for some genres of music, can also be fun for some games. But for me personally, I usually look for something that's a little bit brighter, both for music and for games. But there is plenty of room to customize that within the Armory Crate app. Beyond just the 10-band EQ and some presets, there are controls for virtual surround sound, reverb, bass boost, voice clarity, and a compressor. I found myself listening to music using a modified version of the Jazz EQ. It emphasizes the mids and highs more than the stock EQ, which makes it sound brighter overall. I did bring some of the mids down just a little bit and bring up the lows a little bit, but starting with that Jazz EQ and kind of tweaking it from there was a good starting point for me. But despite tweaking that EQ, I never found myself as impressed with the sound of the Cetra Speednova earbuds as I was with the Sony InZone buds. With the Sony InZone buds, I was instantly impressed with the imaging, you know, being able to pick out different instruments and where they are placed across the soundstage, which is great for music, but also really crucial when it comes to gaming as well. Being able to pick out, you know, specific audio cues and figure out exactly where they are is really important. And while I don't necessarily think that the Cetra earbuds are bad, I was not as immediately impressed as I was with the Sony InZone buds. And that is notable because these are the same price, coming in at $200, which is the same price as the Sony InZone buds. And another thing to note here, they do have both Bluetooth and 2.4 gigahertz wireless, and they say that it's simultaneous. And while you can be connected to both at the same time, I was never able to get audio from both at the same time when I had these connected to my PC with the dongle and then connected to my iPhone with the Bluetooth connection. I was unable to listen to both things at once. I had to deactivate one or the other. So I'm not sure if that's just specific to the devices that I was using, but in my experience, there was no simultaneous Bluetooth connectivity. Another nice benefit here is that the Cetra Speednova earbuds do have ANC, which for me is a welcomed addition. I don't want to use it all the time when I am gaming, but during the summer months when I have an AC unit or a fan running to keep my office cool, having ANC to block out some of that background noise is pretty beneficial. I'm not going to say it's the best ANC out there. I definitely don't think it is. Like most ANC, it still lets through some of those higher frequencies, but it does well at removing kind of those lower frequency hums that you would experience if you had a fan running or an air conditioner running in the background. And let's talk about battery life. In Bluetooth mode by itself, the total runtime, that's with the earbuds themselves and the charging case, is 46 hours. That is, of course, with ANC off and RGB off. With both of those on, you're looking at about 26 hours. So that is 6.5 hours of runtime just on the earbuds themselves with ANC on and RGB on. And of course, using the 2.4 gigahertz connection instead does lessen that battery life. The total time for both the earbuds and the charging case, the total of what you can get on 2.4 gigahertz is 36 hours. And that's with ANC off and RGB off. You're getting 9 hours on the earbuds themselves and 27 hours with the charging case. With ANC on and RGB on, you get 5 hours on the earbuds and 15 hours with the charging case. So 5 hours with ANC on and RGB on, or 5.8 hours with ANC on and RGB off, might be a deal breaker for some gamers. That really is where wireless gaming earbuds show some of their weaknesses. And this is another area where the in-zone buds look more appealing with an 11-hour runtime. And of course, it does have a built-in microphone, so here we are using that, we're testing it. And so hopefully you can get a good idea for what this sounds like. Let me grab a keyboard so we can do kind of a background isolation test. So you can hear how that sounds kind of typing in the background. These are just some kind of noisy linear switches on the Corsair keyboard, nothing too crazy.
What store are you?
We'll see how that does at knocking out background noise. I was kind of impressed by the sound of the microphone. Usually, true wireless earbuds do not have a very good sounding microphone, but this one's actually pretty decent. It still sounded a little echoey, like, you know, it was picking up room noise here in my office, which makes sense because, you know, it's a microphone positioned all the way up here. It's not right in front of your mouth. But for what it is, I do think it actually sounded better than I expected it to. So overall, you know, for the most part, I do think that the Cetra Speed Nova earbuds are one of the better sets of true wireless gaming earbuds that I've tried. But when I'm comparing them to my experience and the price and the features of the Sony in-zone buds, it's a little bit hard for me to recommend these over those. But because comfort and sound are subjective, I think, you know, if you are looking for a pair of true wireless gaming earbuds, I think the most important thing to do is make sure you can either test them out beforehand or make sure there's a way to easily return them. It's completely possible that all of the true wireless earbuds that I find uncomfortable might be a great fit for you. You know, for me, that was the Sony in-zone buds. They fit me perfectly. They fit my ears perfectly, and I found them to be very comfortable. But it would just really stink to, you know, spend 200 of these and not be able to return it if you did find them to be uncomfortable for you. But that's going to do it for this review of the Asus ROG Cetra Speed Nova wireless earbuds. And let me know what you think about them down in the comments below, and also what you think about wireless gaming earbuds in general. Is it something that you would like to try for yourself? Do you use a pair currently, or are you waiting for some other feature that has not yet come around with these? Let me know down in the comments. And if you're looking for some other videos to watch, I'll link to our review of the Sony in-zone buds, as well as our most recent video. And thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up so others can find it easier, and consider subscribing. This is Jordan with 9 to 5 Toys.
I'll be right back.
Oh, wait. Does it already work like this? I just had to hit a prompt on my computer for whatever reason. That's not how technology should work in this day and age.
Hey, welcome to Screen Crush. I'm Ryan Airy, and today I'm going to explain just what exactly the Power Rangers are. Not just the Mighty Morphin, but the franchise as a whole. One that includes 20 plus teams of color-coded superheroes imported from Japan. I'll explain what the show is about and the major storylines that have occurred over 2 decades. I've also got some interesting trivia, like how a key part of the series can trace its origins directly to Marvel. So if you're a little too young or too old, this may all be new information for you, but pretty much any 90s kid has heard of the Power Rangers. For a few years in the mid-90s, they dominated pop culture. The original series helped launch the Fox Kids block of programming, spawned 3 theatrical movies, and ushered in a wave of copycat shows like Masked Rider and Big Bad Beetleborgs. By 2002,
Power Rangers toys.
had made over $6 billion. This was mostly from the Bandai branded action figures and the other Power Rangers toys. For a while, this merch was the holy grail of toys, up there with Tickle Me Elmo and Cabbage Patch dolls. The guy who wrote Jingle All the Way, a movie about 2 dads fighting over the last Turbo Man toy on Christmas Eve, probably got the idea after trying to find a red Power Ranger for his own kids. Heck, that's probably why the show has lasted as long as it has. With its focus on creature designs, new suits, and special Zords that combine together Voltron style, Power Rangers was less of an action drama than it was a giant toy commercial.
What is this place?
What is it that you do here? Merchandising.
But that doesn't make it any less interesting as a pop culture phenomenon. For one thing, the way it was produced was kind of ingenious. On a trip to Japan, a producer named Haim Saban became fascinated with a Japanese kids show called Super Sentai. He immediately saw the appeal of 5 superheroes in color-coded matching spandex suits fighting absurd-looking monsters. Eventually, he obtained the rights to Super Sentai to make an American version of the show. To save money, he didn't bother remaking the special effects scenes of the monsters destroying the city or the masked heroes fighting the creatures on the ground. He and his team would use the original footage in the American show, only rewriting and remaking scenes where the young heroes had their masks off. In between the monster brawls, Saban used American actors to film all new storylines of the heroes at their high school. Saban figured young audiences wouldn't be interested in watching the original Japanese counterparts, either dubbed or with subtitles. Now, this wasn't an original idea either. Way back in 1956, Hollywood did this by taking the 1954 Japanese film Godzilla and adding in a bunch of scenes with American actor Raymond Burr. While all the scenes of Godzilla destroying Tokyo and stepping on tanks were kept, it barely cost the studio anything to film Burr asking Japanese scientists questions like, hey, what's Godzilla up to? This process is called localization, or at least it's part of what the term can be used for. It worked for Godzilla, giving him a whole new audience in the West, and it worked for Super Sentai. Super Sentai first aired in 1975. The title originally translates to Super Squadron Series. Part of the popular special effects focused tokusatsu genre, the show featured a team of 5 20-somethings equipped with electrical battle suits that gave them super strength and speed. In 1978, Toei Company, the company behind Super Sentai, put